If you know anything about irrational numbers, you've probably heard of pi. It is one of the most well-known irrational numbers, and it's the ratio between the circumference of a circle and its diameter. It's denoted using this Greek letter. The first few digits of pi are 3.14159. With Pi Day coming up tomorrow, I decided to do a video about pi and some of its applications. First, let's look at using pi in a circle. As I mentioned before, pi is the ratio between a circle's circumference and its diameter. Therefore, the formula to get the circumference of a circle given the diameter is pi d, pi times the diameter. You can also use the formula 2 pi r to get the circumference if you have the radius. Pi is also used to calculate the area of a circle. For this, you need to have the radius. The formula is pi r squared, which is the product of pi and the square of the radius. You can also use this to find the area of a sector of a circle, in which case you take the area of a total circle and multiply by the fraction of the circle that the sector is. For example, for a sector with an angle of 120 degrees and a radius of 8 centimeters, the area of a total circle would be pi times 8 squared, which is 64 pi. We can leave this in terms of pi for now until the final result. This sector, with an angle of 120 degrees, is 1/3 of a circle. We now take 64 pi and divide by 3, giving us 64 pi over 3. We can now put this into the calculator to get about 67.021 square centimeters. Now, let's look at using pi in three-dimensional shapes. There are two shapes that we will look at here. They are the cylinder and the cone. We could also look at spheres, but they are much more complicated due to not having any flat faces. First, the cylinder. The volume of a cylinder with radius r and height h is pi r squared h. This is because the area of each circular base is pi r squared, and you multiply this by the height h to get the volume of the cylinder. The surface area of a cylinder is 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. The 2 pi r squared accounts for the two circular bases, and the 2 pi r h accounts for the curved side. It has 2 pi r for the circumference of the base and h for the height. Given this cylinder with radius 4 and height 9 centimeters, what are the volume and surface area? Let's start with the volume. The volume is pi times the radius squared times the height. The radius squared is 16 and the height is 9. This gives us that the volume of the cylinder is 144 pi, or about 452.39 cubic centimeters. The surface area is 32 pi plus 72 pi, which is 104 pi, which comes out to about 326.73 centimeters squared. Next, the cone. The volume of a cone is 1/3 pi r squared h. The pi r squared is for the circular base, and multiplying by 1/3 h is because the cone is a pyramid with a circular base. The surface area is a bit more complicated. The area of the base is, of course, pi r squared. The curved side, however, is harder. We start by taking the slant height, which is the square root of r squared plus h squared. Then, multiply this by the radius of the base and then by pi, giving us pi rl, where L is the slant height. If we have a cone with radius 2 centimeters and height 8 centimeters, the volume is 1/3 pi times 2 squared times 8. This comes out to 32 pi over 3, or about 33.51 centimeters cubed. The surface area of this cone is 4 pi plus the area of the curved side. The slant height is the square root of 68, or 2 root 17. Multiplying by 2 pi, we get 4 pi root 17. Adding 4 pi to this gives us 4 pi plus 4 pi root 17. Putting this through a calculator, we get about 64.38 square centimeters. These are just a few of the many applications of the irrational number pi. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next week for another one.